whether this is the most consequential must-win in the Tatum Brown era for the Boston Celtics.
Tonight, I would say I don't think it's consequential in that they're not. If they lose, their best player went down and they lost the series. So let's see what happens. If they win, you're lying to yourself because you don't want to have the conversation if you don't believe that a Jaylen Brown dominant performance in this series and potentially more will change the future landscape of the Celtics roster. You're just not being honest with yourself. If Wiggy said, and he's vacillating on this a bit, but Wiggy said that you don't tell your fans that there's going to be changes about Porzingis or Holiday. That's about Tatum or Brown. And so, if you get it past the Knicks, if you win 3 straight games without Jason Tatum and you get to the conference final, Chisholm, no matter what jersey he's wearing, is watching and is planning on getting back under that second apron, which means you could see Jaylen Brown play himself into the alpha here, or they could say he's so great we sell him high just like Wick sold the Celtics last year.
Yeah. And that was my argument with Wiggy. Wiggy brought up, you brought up the Milwaukee win, Game 6 in 2022.
Yep.
And Tatum had 46 or whatever he had. And then you brought up the Game 7 win against Miami, same season. But I think because of the repercussions and what is going to happen or not going to happen to the roster, it is the most consequential must-win.
I don't know. I'm kind of with Wiggy on this one because they already have it. They already have the championship. So if you want to just talk about the Jays era, like that was the most consequential. Like to get wins is the most consequential. Now that they already have a championship under their belt.
But they didn't have any must-wins. Like they breezed through the entire playoffs last year.
Yeah, but
they weren't. Like their necks weren't on the line at all.
Correct. I just think that the must-wins came before them winning a championship. Now that they've got one, the must-win has already happened in the Jays era.
Yeah, they've had their elimination games in the past. They've had their
Doug, can you turn Wiggy up, please?
Check me out.
If you could, please.
They've had their elimination games in the past, Courtney. You're right about that, and they've won their championship. I think, Curtis might be right a little bit. It's not about them winning this series and getting to the Eastern Conference and can they win a championship. It's more about them figuring out what they're going to do with the two Jays moving forward in the rest of the team. So if Jaylen shows that he can carry the team throughout the playoffs, throughout the rest of this, and they're able to win and get to the Eastern Conference Finals and then maybe put up a good fight there, then Curtis just said it. Do you build the team around Tatum, Brown, and move on from them other pieces, or do you say we can sell Jaylen Brown high and get a lot back, and then now you're building around Tatum in 2 years when he comes back? What's the decision Chisholm wants to make? Does he want to save a little bit of money and say we're going to probably get, because the best value you're going to get is going to be for Jaylen Brown, or do we want to maybe spend a little bit more where we keep Brown and Tatum and we build a new dynasty around those two?
What do you do for your first season as an owner? For Billy Chisholm, it's a full season probably without Jason Tatum. So how do you start building around your superstar when he's not even on the court?
You do what the Dallas Mavericks owner did, and you suck, you get a trade, and then you get Cooper Flag, and you tell your audience that you're going to be planning for the future. You sell high with Jaylen Brown. Everybody knows Tatum's out next year, so you get whatever the assets are, and you begin the foundational build to know that you're going to be adding your best player to the foundation in 1 year. And I would say, Greg, I just like the Game 7 in the Celtic City. It was very well. They highlighted it perfectly. The Eastern Conference semifinal against the Cavs with LeBron and Paul Pierce was a much more consequential must-win because that team had never won anything. If they lose to LeBron, the big three is just an afterthought. When Jason Tatum went down, almost all Celtics fans thought the series was over.
I think part of the consequential win becomes the future of the team. Because, Curtis, I agree with you. You could sell high on Brown and kind of still do what you said you wanted to do with the getting a high draft pick and a potential player like Cooper Flag, but you could still do that if you keep Jaylen Brown and then you sell everything else. And then basically what you have next year is Jaylen Brown by himself basically on a team that's not going to be very good, and you still can put yourself in a position.
Well, you always say that when it comes to selling everything else,
yes,
but you still have to have other players. It's not Jason or Jaylen Brown by himself. It's, unless you're going to, it's all going to be screbeens.
Yeah, that's my point. It's all screbeens. You sell Derek White, you sell P. Pritch, you sell Porzingis, you sell Drew Holiday.
Well, you were saying the other day,
so then what, you go and get Bronny James? Is that
no, I'm just saying, then you're building, then you're going to get screbeens. You're not going to be very good. You're probably going to be a lottery pick, and now you're going to have a lottery pick, and when you get the lottery pick, your season's going to be Tatum, Brown, and lottery pick, similar to what you see with Dallas doing, where it's Kyrie, Anthony Davis, and lottery pick, which probably ends up being Cooper Flag. That's what you could potentially – that's one way of building it. You save a little bit of money, but if you want to save the big money, like Curtis said, then you go, we're going to sell Brown, and then with Brown, you're going to have to sell Porzingis and maybe Drew Holiday, and then it's next year's team is Derek White and Pete Pritch with whatever pieces around those two waiting on Tatum to come back. So what direction do you want to go?
Yeah, the other day I liked it better when you were saying keep Brown and Pritch. Like the fact that if you could keep both of them and then build around them next season and then the superstar comes back, like that I think is doable for not only Billy Chisholm but for the fan base. To go from championship to all of a sudden being a bunch of scrubbeens, I think is going to be a hard pill to swallow for owners' first season.
How good are they going to really be with Brown and Pritch?
Well, it depends who else they put around them. We've given Brad Stevens so much credit for the last couple of seasons, and rightfully so. Mm-hmm. But this is the time for him to really step up and see what type of magic he can pull off.
Yeah, but if they're really trying to cut cost, it's not like they can go out. Porzingis is going to cost you $20 million. Mm-hmm. So it's not like you're going to go out and get guys that are going to cost you a lot of money because you're cutting costs. So you'd have Brown and Pritch, and then you're going to be able to put pieces around them, but they're not going to be that good of pieces that are going to make them a contender.
That's what I'm saying. For Brad Stevens, this is a time for him to shine, to figure out talent that is out there that's going to cost them less, but he sees a future where they can be great.
Right, but that process takes far longer than one off season. Like the Celtics getting to where they are now was Brad Stevens having 5 years with Danny Ainge, finding guys, diamonds in the rough and all that. In one off season in the NBA without spending money, it's borderline impossible to get back. And I think that'll be
I'm not saying get back. I'm saying don't have a terrible season.
Yeah, but you'd want them to have a terrible season. That'd be better for you than being mediocre. Being mediocre is like the worst place you could possibly be in sports in the NBA. It means that you're out of the lottery, you're 44 and, 38, and you're kind of middling. Like, if they stink, then hopefully they get lucky. They get whoever. I don't know the NBA draft. That's Shime's side of the street. But to me, enjoy tonight. I am not anxious about the game at all because it's fun to watch this team and know that morons spent $30K for 2 seats courtside at MSG, and it would be really fun to see them lose their money tonight and watch the Celtics come back Monday night for Game 7. That would be great theater. But I don't think tonight it could be the last time Jaylen Brown plays with the Celtics. That's potentially. But it's also the opportunity to watch a team where you've been this unbelievable favorite, this Goliath, and now you get to be the underdog in a way.
Well, Celtics have led all 5 games of this series by 14 or more points, and hopefully they will be in that position this evening, and that game is at 8 o'clock tonight.